All right, well, today we're going to be fixing up my very neglected property here. This place was once pretty immaculate, and it has slipped pretty far from that over the years, but we've been working on getting it back, and we've made some drastic improvements in that time. It has come a long way, but it is time to wrap this up once and for all, finish out every last project we have to get this place back to where it was in its prime. I'm so excited to see the final result of all this hard work we've put in. We have had a lot of hiccups and stuff along the way. We've had a lot of equipment failures. We just had a few more of them, so we've got equipment to fix. We've got a bunch of stuff to do. Upgrades, there's a lot. There's a lot to do, so I should probably quit jibber jabbering and we should get into it. First step is gonna be, though, to give this place a quick cut. It's a little bit overgrown at the moment, but I could not be happier to see my yard overgrown, because that means we actually have grass to cut. For a long time, cutting the grass was more or less a formality because there wasn't much grass to begin with. So seeing a sea of overgrown grass means we've made massive progress from where we started. So that being said, let's get this place mowed up so we can dive into the real projects and then get into the upgrades and the repairs and all the other stuff we got to do along the way to finally check this one off the to-do list, call it done and dusted. So excited to see the end result. Been a long time coming. All right, guys, before we get too deep into today's video, I wanted to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Factor. So Factor is the solution to a problem I didn't even realize that a solution existed for, because I had tried everything else. And that problem is getting good quality food, not spending a metric ton of money, and saving time, not spending a ton of time. You know, I've tried cooking, not a chance. No time to cook it. Let alone go to the grocery store, get a bunch of ingredients, and then I end up wasting them if I forget to cook it or I don't have time, which I never do. Ordering takeout, absurdly expensive. The food is more expensive. Then there's fees. Then there's some more fees and the tip. It's just astronomically expensive. Not to mention, by the time I'm done working, usually there's not that much open. The only stuff that is open isn't very good quality food. So not only am I paying a ton of money, I'm paying it for food that is not very good for me and doesn't make me feel very good. That's where Factor comes in. You get fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your door that are ready in 2 minutes. I get to eat a good quality, delicious meal. I get to try all of these different recipes that are chef curated to be absolutely delicious, and I can have it whenever I want it. If I wanted to go eat right now, I could have a meal ready to go in 2 minutes. It is just the coolest thing. I would highly recommend it. I've recommended it to a lot of friends. They all love it. It has been great for everyone I know who's tried it, and I think it'll be great for you too if you give it a chance. Now, if you're interested in giving it a chance, head to factor75.com or click the link down below and use code TaylorGist50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and then 20% off your next month of orders. It's a great deal to not only try it, but then add it into your routine and see what you think. That being said, it is time to get back to work. We have a lot to get done, and I really want to get it all done. So I'm gonna get back to it. Speaking of failing equipment, the old zero turn here is in desperate need of some maintenance. We'll have to try to pencil it into our massive to-do list for this one. See what I mean about that? Needing some water. I will always choose mowing when it's overgrown versus barely at all, because there's nothing worse than mowing and not even really being able to tell where your lines are and what you just cut and what you didn't. However, the only downside with it being overgrown is no matter how sharp I get these blades, there's always the small thin weeds because they get pushed over. So then you got to go over the same spots multiple times if you want to get everything, and you miss a bunch of things, and that part can be kind of annoying, kind of tedious, kind of time consuming, but it is so satisfying. I love mowing when it's thick like this. saved the backyard for last because I like doing it the least, because it's still definitely the worst area of the yard as far as grass coverage is concerned, but it definitely gets the award for most improved. For a while it was all leaves, then we cleared out all the leaves and there was virtually no grass left. And while we do have these sandy areas left that we need to reseed and topsoil, we have grass and no leaves. Well, mostly no leaves. Last time I mowed the yard, I used the electric mower to mow the entire thing, and it took a while because I had to go over the same spots multiple times, so this time I decided to split it up, use the zero turn for the main stuff, and then take advantage of the size of the small electric mower and get in all these hard to reach places so I don't have to weed eat them by hand. Well, this thing kept trying to shut off on me while we were mowing. Every time you'd hit a hard bump, it would cut ignition. And I wasn't sure, but I'm leaning towards it being the seat sensor here. I went ahead and put it in here instead of out back, because if I put it back there, it is out of sight, out of mind, and I will completely forget it exists, has any problems, needs any work until I need to use it again. And then we'll limp it through another mow, and the cycle will continue. So I put it in here. We're keeping it in here until it is fixed, because it is not only in sight, but very much in the way and on the mind, and we won't forget. So I have added it to the to-do list. I've ordered a bunch of parts for it. We're gonna fix this thing up too. I had this thing for 3 years. I barely touched it. So yeah, that being said, we did manage to get the yard mowed, which I'm very, very happy with the results. This is the best this yard has ever looked. We finally have full grass coverage over here. For the first time in years, we actually have full grass coverage. You know, we've still got some grass growth to do over here, but it's getting there. And then this whole section is in great shape now. It has come a long way. It was almost gone at one point, especially through here. So really happy with the progress so far, but we still have one area left to do before we can call that kind of side of the project done and dusted. And that is over here. This whole area suffers from the same problem the rest of the yard suffered from, and that is just years and years of leaf buildup. And all those leaves building up left no room for the grass and just absolutely suffocated the grass out. We got a few survivors, you know, who weathered the storm and somehow persevered through leaves covering the whole area, but for the most part, most of the grass is gone from this whole area because it's so packed full of leaves. So to finish this side of things out, we need to get all the leaves out of here like we did for the rest of the yard before we can dive into the fun, satisfying, rewarding stuff that we've got planned. So that being said, kind of ironically, I kind of need the mower so I can hook it up to the trailer so I can move the stuff around, but we'll put it back in the shop after this so it doesn't get forgotten. Speaking of, first thing, let's see if we can bypass this seat sensor. That would make our lives a little bit simpler. So with this switch only being 2-wire, I thought this was going to be a simple jumper wire and away we go situation. However, the jumper wire did not work. It wasn't working. In theory, this should work. We're making connection between the 2 wires. So that must mean that we need to break the connection between the 2 wires, which when we unplug it, we should be breaking the connection. So it's not making sense. So I decided I needed to dig a little deeper, look at this wiring, trace it back, and I still didn't really have any answers until I took a better look at the connector itself. All right, this is pretty clever. So when you sit down, it breaks that connection between these 2 wires. So if that was the case, normally when you'd unplug it, that connection is broken, and bada bing, bada boom, Bob's your uncle. However, they have this little piece in here that when you plug it in, it pushes these 2 tabs apart. But with it not plugged in, these 2 little metal tabs touch each terminal together as if it was plugged in and you weren't sitting in the seat. So I should be able to depin this connector. I mean, in theory, if I just cut these wires, it should do it, but then we can't put it back. All right, it should start and stay running when I take the parking brake off now. Very clever piece of engineering there, I gotta say. One of the more annoying things when it comes to collecting leaves is that along with the leaves, as a bit of a package deal, comes sticks. And not to mention that this area hasn't been mowed in a while because there hasn't been grass here in a while, so there's a lot of sticks. Normally they kind of get picked up as I'm mowing and maybe get tossed in a pile in the woods for later, which now is kind of later. But not here. There's a lot of sticks to pick up. But with those up and out of the way, we can use the rake to get the embedded leaves out of the grass and then try to leaf blow them into the woods. I was going to collect them, but I thought you might as well see if we can just leaf blow them into the woods. There's already a ton of leaves in there. It's not like we're ever going to pick all of those up, and my property line does extend about 10 feet into the woods, so we're keeping them, in our yard. We're just putting them kind of out of sight, out of mind, that way we don't have to see them or deal with them. So it seems to be working. It's just, I don't know if it's any faster than sucking them up with the electric mower, because it takes a little while to work them all the way into the woods when you got grass in the way, and they just keep trying to get caught in the grass. It's like Velcro. The grass just wants to trap the leaves in it, and that is why this has been such a large project to get all these leaves and remove them, because they're all just so deeply embedded within the grass. But we're working them into the woods. We got some kind of leaf dams in there that kind of in the way of getting them in there, but slowly but surely we're getting the leaves up. Now, one thing I did not anticipate is this area by the fence. A lot of what I thought was grass and what looked like grass and made it look like we had nice grass coverage is these ground vines. And when you try to rake the leaves up, you inevitably end up pulling the ground vines out. So as we're getting these leaves up, we are slowly but surely removing a lot of the greenery. It's one of those things, man. It's sometimes it's got to look worse before it can look better. If we don't get the leaves up, we'll never be able to grow more grass here, but obviously getting the leaves up does come at a bit of a cost. It's looking pretty barren over here, but we're going to just keep plugging away, and hopefully the end result isn't too much of a letdown. Well, that section definitely was a lot more work than I expected. B, a prime example of it's got to get worse before it gets better. So we're done with this section. we're gonna move on to the front half. Well, tomorrow we are, because it's getting dark. All right, well, I had to keep and put shorts on today because it's just too humid. We're like in the high 80% humidity right now. Lower parts should be here today. So I really want to get the last bit of this knocked out. So hopefully by the time they get here, we can knock out the mower so it doesn't get pushed down the to-do list. It really needs to get done and ain't nobody else to do it but us. Last bit, maybe up to there a little bit, that we'll have to suck up with the mower. I don't think we'll be able to leaf blow it in, especially with this wind. This is one of those areas that you don't realize how many leaves are here until you start pulling them up and pulling them out, because the grass is still relatively thick, so they're just buried in there. And what you think is a small amount of leaves, you realize as you start raking them out, is a pretty large amount of leaves. And this is probably one of the areas that's bothered me the most, just because it's kind of right in your face. It's the first thing you see when you drive up to the house is all of these leaves. So every time I come home, I'm like, oh, there's my house and there's my yard full of leaves. So this is probably the area I'm most excited to get done, which is part of why I saved it for last. I knew it was going to be a little bit tricky and challenging to get all this up, but it will be probably the most rewarding to get cleared out and cleaned up. So once we got the far away leaves sucked up, we could try to leaf blow this last bit in here just to minimize the amount of bags that we got to put out for the lawn waste guys. But Florida had some other plans. Raining. Why you gotta do this to me, Florida? Really thought I had a little more time. It's great we decided to do this today since there was no rain forecasted. The Florida radar weather app is about as trustworthy as whatever the least trustworthy thing you can think of. All right, well, that kind of sucked. The timing. We just have this last little patch. We're so close. We're so close. Done with the leaf collecting. It wasn't until I was putting everything away that I remembered there is one final section that needs to have the leaves extracted. And of course, it's the area that stares me in the face every single day because I always pull in and out of the house by the shop. I'm working in the shop, I'm by the shop, I'm in the shop, and I see this area all the time. So I couldn't skip it. I couldn't let it go undone. I just knew it was going to be a little bit tricky because the leaves aren't embedded, so it's not a ton of work to get them out, but it is kind of intricate. We have a bunch of stuff that we don't want to tear up over here. A bunch of plants and things. We have a bunch of aloe plants that I'm trying to pick the leaves out around the aloe plants without destroying them, and it's not the easiest area. It's a little more technically challenging, but it is the last area. So when we're done with this, we're done. We're good. All right, now we're done and we can officially close the doors on the leaf extraction business. This has been a long one, but we're done. It's done. We have de-leafed every area. The next project on the chopping block, because I'm trying to enjoy some AC, it's muggy, is gonna be the mower. We've got most or everything in that we needed for it, so we can finally give that thing the love it deserves. It's been a trooper. Check out this owl. Came by to supervise the leaf extraction project. He was helping me over in the other side of the yard, and here he is again. What's up, dude? What should I call you? Fred? Sounds good. Fred's still hanging out over there, mean mugging me. It's weird, he was definitely over in the other side of the yard. I don't know, can't tell if Fred's hostile or not. Here are our fresh, new, too small tires. Did I just screw up and order the wrong size? I'm pretty sure I did. That's also really good. Well, not only did we strike out on the rear tires, which was my fault, the front wheels that were supposed to be here. Bad news aside, we did get a lot of our parts in that we needed. Second most crucial thing, I would say. So we can at least get that done. So we got ourselves a full tune-em up kit. Let's give this thing a full-on tune-up, it needs it. You'll see what I mean when I pull this air filter out. It's been a project I've been procrastinating on for so long. And we're finally gonna get it done. Yeah, there was the little pre-filter thing on there at some point in this thing's life. That's that in there, nice. All right, done. No, I'm just kidding. We gotta do. Oh, let's see, we need some pliers. Go. Not the most graceful hot swap there. Yeah, that thing was cooked too. Alright, fuel filter. One thing that's important to note when you're doing plugs is whether it is a crush washer or a tapered seat plug, because they feel very different when you're tightening them. If you're tightening a tapered seat plug, it's gonna get tight like a bolt, and then you barely turn it past that. But if it's a crush washer, it's gonna almost kind of feel like it's stripping, and then it tightens up. So it's a little scary because you gotta keep tightening, you know, to completely crush the washer. It's, yeah, just something to keep in mind. I mean, I would say these are definitely, do have some replacement. They're really not that bad though. See, I can narrow it, it's tight. All right, oil change. Oh gosh. Kind of regretting this oil filter purchase here. Got a really thick rubber gasket. The amount of times I buy cheap stuff on Amazon, not to save money, but to save time, is not good. All right, last stop. Whoa, only the best. You know you're supposed to pour oil quarts this way? All right, well, I was definitely planning on doing more than a tune-up, but, you know, hey, needed a tune-up as well. We got new oil, new filter, new fuel filter, new plugs, new air filter. This thing should run like a top. All right, let's see. It'll probably take a minute for it to prime the fuel system. That's exactly what I was worried about. Well, that is a good example of why trying to save, whether it's time or money, when it comes to parts, can end up costing you in the long run. And I should have trusted my gut on this oil filter. Now the ring's set, but this seal is way too thick and it's not secured in there, which I questioned, but I was like, as long as I make sure it goes on there good, it doesn't get kinked, it'll be all right. But I did all of that, but just it being so thick, as soon as I fire this thing up, it just blew the seal right out. Oh, jeez Louise, dude. Try this again. Well, the mower is back together. Second time was the charm in the oil change. It's all good in that respect. I went ahead and pressure washed it, which I've been meaning to do for a bit, so it's looking good. But this is a bit of a good news, bad news situation. Now, the good news is the tune-up did wonders. This thing's running better than ever. It was definitely long overdue for that tune-up. However, a great running engine doesn't really matter if our hydrostatic drives aren't working all that well. Now, I thought this was going to be a super simple, not even noteworthy fix. It's been getting a little weak. It seemed to be getting progressively worse, but I assumed it was just low on fluid. It just needed some air purged out of the system. So while we were doing the oil, I went ahead and topped it off. Didn't seem to help. Did the whole purge procedure, and it seemed to make no difference at all. I think our drives are not only on their way out, but knocking on the door. I mean, it's getting pretty bad. So we're gonna have to make a decision soon on what to do about that, whether we decide to replace the drives, which cost nearly as much as I paid for the whole mower, or we sell the mower for parts and buy another zero turn, or we get a regular riding mower, or we just use the electric mower. I don't know. There's a lot of decisions to make, and I'm really kind of conflicted on which way to go. What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. Riding mower would be nice because I could move the boats around with it, but I still want to get a golf cart. I don't know. We'll have to decide on something. But that being said, I paid $1,000 for this mower when I bought this house nearly 4 years ago now. So it doesn't owe me anything. I mean, this thing has definitely paid for itself. I ain't mad at the old girl. But that being said, we still got to decide what to do. So let me know what you think we should do. But for now, this thing is going back behind the shop. It's time to move on. I went ahead and got the yard waste we've got together so far put out by the street. Now it's time to tackle this unfinished business. The last few unwelcome guests. It's not leaves. We've closed down the leaf collecting business, as I said. It's these things. I mean, I want to call them weeds. I don't know if you would classify this as a weed, but they act like weeds, where they just grow when they're not wanted, and they suck the nutrients from the things that are supposed to be there. This is not a bush. This is not what's supposed to be here. There is, or at least was, a bush down under here, but I think it's gone now. So this thing is just taken over, and we have these in a few places throughout the yard trying to take over the bush's job. So we need to get these hacked out so that way all our unwelcome guests are gone, and then we can dive into the fun, satisfying upgrade projects. But first things first, we got to finish taking out the trash. It is crazy how fast these things grow and how tall they grow. They can get so large so fast, but that being said, it doesn't get this large without some blissful ignorance and a little bit of procrastination of I'll do it later. And as you can see, now that we're finally getting around to it, there is no bush left to save. It has taken all the nutrients from the bush, and now the bush is gone as well. I don't think it's going to be coming back. We'll see. We'll give it a chance, but I think we missed the boat on that one. So I'm trying to get the rest of these out by the root because, when I'm mowing, I'll cut one down or break it off at the stem, but the root's still there and it grows back so quickly, and then it's stealing all the nutrients. So I'm trying to get down and get as close to the roots as possible to try to at least buy me a little more time before these things grow back and try to make this place their home again. Jeez, that thing put in some roots. You can see the amount of times I've cut it already. Keeps coming back. Gift that keeps on giving. Now, while I had a mental list of these that I wanted to remove that had been bothering me, that I knew were growing up and being in the way and all of that, I did not realize how many there actually were that needed to get hacked out of here. You know, it seemed like everywhere I looked, every bush, every area, every nook, every cranny, there were more and more of them. And I felt like a man on a mission to get them all. Like, I got to catch them all. I got to get them all out of here because they're taking over, and they're only going to make things worse the longer I turn a blind eye to them. All right, I think that's good enough for now. Already got more than we can take. It's a lot. I still keep finding more, but I don't have any more space. I mean, we picked up nearly as much just in the wheelbarrow as like the last 2 trash cans. Some of this was already the wheelbarrow full. I didn't want to put the wheelbarrow out last time, but it left me no choice. They don't seem to want to pick it up unless you put it in a can, so I only have so many cans to fill up with lawn waste. I mean, it is my fault for doing it all at one time, but you know, it happens. Hopefully they'll take what's in this wheelbarrow, because I found a lot more that need to get hacked up. All right, well, we got lucky. They fortunately took all of our lawn waste, including everything that was in the wheelbarrow, so we don't have to sit on this stuff for another week, which I am very grateful for. Now we got a bunch of cans back, so I can keep hacking my way through all this overgrowth and get all of it out of here, because this is probably the most satisfying part so far, is getting rid of all that stuff, and I just want to do more. But it's time to move on. We got to move on to the support systems, the upgrading the equipment and all of that. We've got to, otherwise the rest of this work was kind of a waste. So we're starting with the well. We've had some serious trouble with this well. It is not taking it easy on us. Basically, the house was originally on well, then it got converted to city. They left the irrigation system in the shop on the well. We had a leaking feed pipe under the driveway. We redid the whole irrigation system, new feed pipe. Then it broke again a couple days later. The well house was a mess, so we had to clean this thing out, deal with rats and rodents and stuff. Not very fun, but then we did figure out that it wasn't the well that went out. It was the control box, so we changed that. Everything seemed peachy until the pressure tank has now decided it wants out. It's over it, so I tried my best to limp it along, but it's at the point now where the well has to run constantly if the irrigation system's on, which is going to prematurely wear out the well pump, which will then require us to replace the well pump, which I really don't want to do. It's, you know, 100, 150, 200 feet down there that we got to pull all that out to replace it. So I'm hoping we can replace the pressure tank, limp us along for another year or so, hopefully, before we got to tackle that one. Going to have to evict some tenants. The last time I opened this door, I saw a rat run by, and they don't make the best tenants, so we got to evict them, and then we can get to work, and we're going to try to rat-proof this thing a little better to prevent more of them moving in the future. So got the tank, got a shovel, got some plumbing. Shovels for the rats. Let's get to work. The last I saw Ratty McRatface, he was under these lids here. Just hopefully it's the uneventful. See the signature rat drawings. Yeah, I gotta find that stapler. This is gonna take forever. I got a massive case of this to put in the engine bay of cars that sit outside to turn the squirrels. Alright, let's freaking hack this thing out real quick. Hopefully real quick. I'd like to get rid of this coupler, but I'm going to cut it here to start. Still got water in it somehow. Oh yeah. This tank was clogged up. Let's go prep the new tank. So we're gonna have a slight problem. I got 1 1/4 inch, if that's what it is coming out of the pressure tank. But that's not what's there. What's there is inch. So we're gonna have to use this 1 1/4 inch and then go down to 1 inch. I thought about redoing all of that with brass fittings and a nice brass manifold and whatever, but I'm trying to keep it simple, you know? We do need to figure out, oh, don't roll away on me. I was debating trying to make all of my cuts and pieces and glue them all on here in the shop and then go install the tank, but I decided the better way to do this, since we don't know exactly how it's going to all fit in there. It's a little bit of a tight space and the tank is a lot wider than the old one, so I thought I'd just glue the pipe on at full length and then we can cut it to length once we know exactly where the tank's going to go and how long it needs to be. We've either got a straight coupler or a 45, so we could 45 the tank away from that control box, or just go straight. Ain't looking too likely. That means I gotta move all these paint cans. Thinking we're gonna have to use the 45. This is a great example of how a simple swap project can turn into something a little bit more complicated. Fortunately, we planned for it, but the tank is not going to fit there because of that electrical box, which is concreted in, the conduit where it comes out. So there's no easy way of moving that. So we've got to move the tank. And our options are a 45 or a straight, so we're going to go with the 45 and try to tuck it over here in the corner. This is also why we left this pipe full length and decided to cut it in place, because we weren't really sure exactly how this tank was going to fit. If I could have found an exact match to the old tank, we would have probably had less complications. But there's enough room in here to where we should be able to make this one work and fit where we need it to fit. She's in there. Beautiful.
You want to straighten the boards out and the smidge or not? Last call. Oh, that looks pretty dang professional.
Not too bad, honestly. Pretty happy with that. New tank is installed. If I had like a 15, that would have been optimal. I would have tucked this right back in that corner, but overall, not too bad. I do have a new pressure switch, but this one's still working, so we're gonna leave it. But we gotta let all that dry. Then we can fire up the system, test it. We gotta set pressure in the tank. Hopefully all is well. This dang well has been such a pain. It's given us so much grief, but hopefully after this one we have a little bit of grief-free well usage. Time to move on to the next project. The next project is also long overdue. It's something I've been needing to do for like at least 2 years. For me, this is incredibly exciting. This thing is large. It's a new mailbox. Oh, upside down. Ow. It's a new mailbox. You'll see why when I show you my mailbox, why this has been long overdue. It's hanging on by a thread, or really, I guess I should say a nail. And it's large for when I get Amazon packages. They can cram them in there. I have been procrastinating on this project for years. Not because I thought it was going to be tough, but I just couldn't really find a mailbox I liked that I could get quickly, and then out of sight, out of mind, I'd completely forget the project existed. So I am so excited to finally get this one knocked out. All right, so here is my old mailbox. It may or may not have gotten ran into a couple times. You can see this big dent in the corner here. That one's from me. I was backing up the turbo truck back when it wasn't turbo, and I was like looking in my mirror. I'm like, man, I don't see the mailbox. And I looked in the other mirror, and I looked back in that mirror, and I was like, I should be seeing the mail smash. ran right into it, busted my taillight open. Silly. But anyway, yeah, it got smashed. So it is. All right, so we got to try to salvage this wood post. Did you find any measurement?
41 to 45 inches to the bottom.
It's 43. Let's do it. Quick and easy mailbox install.
Timber.
You can go too. That hopefully slides. Oh, it slides over. Man. That seems a little tall.
But like you said, like when they're in their truck, kind of sitting 41 to 45. Set in multiple sources.
Well, we're gonna send it then.
That ain't going nowhere.
Gotta give it a couple strips to make sure it's tamper-proof, you know?
You should put some spikes on the bottom.
Oh, that's a solid lid, too. Solid lid action. Oh, true. Wood one for sure. Oh my gosh, it's a piece of my taillight. Finish this off with a piece of my taillight that I found in the grass. I've been holding on to it for this day. No, I'm just kidding. Check it out. Oh, I am so happy with that, dude. That looks a million times better. It seems tall, but... Right? We did it to regulation height, okay? Anyway, it looks good. I'm happy with that. Take a gander. It doesn't really match the aesthetic of the house, because the house... Yeah, the house absolutely needs to get painted. It's high on the priority list, but aside from that, it is night and day difference with the matching wood grain flag. And then the magnetic door. Ah, so satisfying. Oh, it makes me happy. That's a nice improvement. Plus, it's way larger now, so my mailman won't have to bring me packages as much. You can just shove them in here. Mailbox done. I'm gonna put the numbers on, and then we are gonna go test out the well pressure tank. Fingers crossed it goes well. We can cross another one off the checklist. Wipe my hands. All right. Now we gotta set the pressure on this tank here. Are you really a racer if you don't set your air pressure on your well pump pressure tank with a big long acre tire gauge? I think not.
No.
Okay. Alright, well, we got no leaks. Ha! Well, that was quick. Alright, sprinklers are working. Because the problem before is the well would have to turn on every minute or so, or every like 30 seconds maybe. I hear that tank draining. Are they still ripping? Yeah. There it goes, okay. See how long it runs for. Pump's still going. Okay, I feel like we got a problem. Alright, well, it works. Just with the irrigation system on, it wouldn't shut off, but we might have the pre-charge pressure too high because we don't know what this pressure switch is. It doesn't say on the inside of the cap, doesn't say anywhere on the outside of the cap. That gauge is broken, so this needs to get replaced. And then we can make sure we've got our pre-charge pressure set right. But it's all installed, there's no leaks. It works, the well turns on and off. What more could you ask for? Done! Dusted. I'm over it. No, I'm just kidding, but kinda. All right, well, here's a quick look at the finished product. We've done about all of the labor we can do, aside from a little more seeding and topsoiling, and then me taking some time to cut the rest of these unwelcomed guests out. But we have made some massive progress, and we are finally done with the leaf extraction. I cannot tell you how good it feels. This project has been hanging over my head for years. And to see grass growing back in a lot of these areas, and these are like this, we didn't even seed, and it's already growing back in a lot of places. So a little more seeding, a little more topsoil, should be in good shape. This whole section was just one big layer of leaves. And the grass has a good chance to grow well here because it's shaded part of the day. It's not getting scorched by the sun. But yeah, all that's done. Whew, feels good, man. So satisfying to take some pride in the property and see it coming back. It just, what a world of difference these projects have made. Very happy with how the properties turned out. It's amazing what a little elbow grease will do. So anyway, that being said, let me know what you guys think of the improvements and the upgrades so far. Let me make sure there's no frogs in here. And you know, anything you would add, change, do. There's still a few things like gravel in that front driveway. I mean, there's some larger projects to do to the property, but as far as bringing the nature back to life, we have more or less accomplished our goal. So I'm really happy about that. It was a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I can't wait to see you next time. Goodbye.